a call to say, did you get my mail? You know, so all of that came into the way we started off the government. So, for example, the governor's first instruction, because I functioned as the principal private secretary at the beginning of the administration. The first instruction, yes, I was, yes. Yeah. Yes, so I was reporting directly to the governor, and the first instruction was, I want to treat all my mails within 48 hours. Turnaround time 48 hours. It seemed almost impossible to others who were listening, but I knew it was possible because of where I was coming from. And we clearly, you know, drove that seamlessly by making sure that the people who were working in the secretariat, the governor's secretariat, were upskilled to deliver effectively on that. So the governors, within 48 hours, there's the response, and he's responding to you. So governor, till the time he leaves back to you, would take nothing more than 72 hours. Yes, so that was one of the key reforms that we carried out, you know. And so that helped us, because once it started from the governor's office, remember this is the head of the administration, this is the CEO, if you like, in the private sector. Yeah, organization, and then this was the governor. Everything stopped at his table. If he could achieve that, then there was no reason why all of us working under him could not, you know, toe that same path. So that was where we started, and we're clearly able to deliver on that in the governor's office, which meant that that could also be replicated in the office of the deputy governor and in the office of the secretary to the state government, and then on to the head of service. So it just trickled down that way. It was a process. Everything we do in this government is process driven. We never have a knee-jerk reaction to anything. So it's how we deliver.
All right. So, you know, there has been a paradigm shift from what was done before.
Yeah.
Okay. So how has the strategic planning office and project management function aided the government in overcoming problems of policy implementation?
Excellent, yeah. So, you know, last question I just answered had to do with the change.
Yes.
Okay. So what happens when people resist change? It's always one of two things. It's always because they don't quite understand what you want to do, or they just don't want to go down that line with you. So there are always two things. So when they do not understand what you do, you then have to take up the responsibility of making sure they are properly educated, and there's proper sensitization and an awareness creation about the reason why you are, you know, taking up this new venture or this new policy direction. You must make sure that the stakeholders are on the same table with you and that they are part of your decision making. That's the only way you can effectively drive change. So when you are, you know, thinking of any sort of change, no matter how small it is, you must make sure that those who are going to use that process sit with you and make the decisions together. So in most of the things that we did, we made sure that the key stakeholders were present at the table.
Whether they liked it or not, or?
No. You see, you don't force things down. If you really want to achieve any form of success, make sure you are not forcing down things to people. Make sure they understand. And it always takes 5 minutes to have a chat and tell the person why you are doing certain things. So, for example, I'll tell you, if I say we don't want to have to, I'll give you the example of the CFO. Yeah. Who thought that it was possible to have a digitalized
Edo State is transforming.
In the shortest possible time.
It is getting brighter and brighter.
Edo State. And for that, you know, that's, to me, I think that having the CFO at starting from 50,000 is like giving it to you for a token compared to what was in Edo State before. When you pay and not even, and end up not even having the land or the property. You know, so what you do is you make sure you're educating them about the need for that change. So if you wanted to maybe go into the Ministry of Lands, or as it used to be before, you would go there, sit with them, look at the pros and the cons, That's how you manage change. You look at the pros and the cons with the critical stakeholders, those who will be using it, and then tell them that, look, we have this whole store piled with hard copies of files. How nice would it be for you to simply sit in front of your computer and key in the ID
And then navigate.
and navigate? How simple would that be? Instead of having to go through a room full of files piled up to the roof in some cases. You think of the health implications as well for you. You're lifting stuff. You're drilling through dusty files. That's not a healthy work environment. So that's just one of the things I could tell you about in the revolutionary way that we're working here. So at the click of your mouse, you're seeing your whole detail on the screen in front of you. How nice would that be? Why would I not choose that instead of having to go through piles of files? I know that sometimes these things are done deliberately because people think that in ambiguity they can sort of benefit something, but it's not always the best option.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, if you are just joining us, we're chatting with Oduwa-Malaka, PhD. She is the Special Advisor to the Governor on Strategic Planning and, of course, Program Management and the Chairman Program Management Office. When we come back, she's going to be taking a look at how to disaggregate the projects of Godwin Obaseki. Stay with us.
Edo State is transforming. It is getting brighter and brighter every day. The state that was known a few years ago as a haven for touts with a chaotic city center is now serene, conducive for families and businesses to thrive. This is as a result of the visionary leadership of Mr. Godwin Obaseki, the Executive Governor of the state. Prior to being elected, he promised the people of the state that they will see accelerated development and the implementation of people-oriented policies. The vision of his administration is to develop a modern and progressive Edo State where every citizen is empowered with opportunity to live life in its fullness. This is further driven by a mission to achieve sustainable and inclusive prosperity anchored on accountable governance, efficient service delivery, and social justice for all the people. To actualize this, 6 thematic pillars were created: institutional reform, economic revolution, culture and tourism, infrastructural development, environmental sustainability, and social welfare enhancement.
The Obaseki administration is built on 6 thematic pillars. We have institutional reforms, which to me is the actual starting point, because of institutions, you're going to have problems across the board. So it was a very deliberate effort on the part of this government to begin reforms from our institutions. There was the strategy dialogue, there was the different workshops across MDAs, and several other retreats just to make sure that the executives of this government were well informed about the direction of the government. Of the entire Edo.
With the visionary leadership of Godwin Obaseki, Edo State has been positioned as one of the most investor-friendly states in Nigeria.